other joke was that our state flower is mildew because it rains so much.
And so you might just accidentally push yourself in the wrong direction a little bit, and then it's like, I'm going to pay for it the next day.
There's no guarantee whether we'll do it.
But I was just like chilling. I look over and I was like, oh, hello, vagina. I was
Keep that compass pointed, true north to what you believe.
Definitely don't go to school.
Go to rock and roll school.
That's kind of crazy, but
I don't remember this.
Me neither.
But if it comes to write lyrics, I really, it's a pain in the ass for me,
Wow, this is what I want to listen to during my whole life.
Did you really bring that up? That was a private conversation.
But I hope people keep thinking that I'm really relaxed while I'm playing and do not realize when I'm playing the difficult parts of the song.
Those things are always interesting just because I'm so scattered.
Polka metal can be interesting.
Polka metal, yeah. I like it.
It's a microphone. What am I supposed to do with this? I'm not sure. I don't remember.
I know who to sue.
Yeah.
It was that being told I can't and I shouldn't made me want to do it.
And I'm really hopeful that that's not possible.
I want to be in their presence, so I conduct my life in a way that I hope that they want to be in my presence as well.
After the release, now it's time to work on the promotion of the album. So aside of that, there's a lot going on. But a little bit easy. It's a nice sunny day today, so I'm enjoying it.
That's nice. Yeah, it's surprisingly sunny here in Seattle right now, and we're actually supposed to be hitting, let's see, in Celsius, it would be like 37 or 38 degrees Celsius this weekend.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
Well, for us here in the Netherlands, probably like 25 degrees or something. For us, that's like the hottest it can almost get here. So yeah, that's the usual summer day here.
That sounds nice. I'm not looking forward to 37 or 38 degrees here.
Sounds insane. Yeah.
If you're in Phoenix or Miami or Texas, you're used to that kind of thing. Up here in the Northwest, in Seattle, it's making all the news right now. It's the first headline about this heat wave that's coming. So people will be like sticking around in stores and anywhere that has air conditioning basically this weekend.
No, it's ideal weather today. I went out and made a walk in nature. It's perfect.
Awesome. And obviously we're going to talk about Crypta and we're talking about Cobra Spell and your guitar playing and all that. But what I actually wanted to ask you is something that you just posted really recently about that you were like, I don't know if it was like gymnastics or some stretching that you were kind of getting back into. Can you tell me more about what that was?
Sure. Well, I have always been very obsessed with being very, how to say it, flexible. I don't know why I was always really wanting to be flexible, be able to do the splits. And I've done a lot of different sports that were related to that when I was little. Even though now, since I'm more of a musician, I'm a full-time musician playing guitar all the time. I thought it would be nice to bring back a little bit of what I used to do before. It's also, it's good to take care of yourself. So I thought, let's bring it back, practice my flexibility back. I did some kind of hobby. I, once a week go to a gymnastics place where I get to learn certain things that I would like to be able to do, certain acrobatic things, which is always a little bit hard when you get a little bit older because, you have a certain fear level when you're trying things out. And I really like to take this challenge for myself aside of just being a musician. So I'm trying also a lot of new things out recently. I also just joined actually Kung Fu lessons, very random, but I'm starting with that too.
Okay, no, that's great. It's great that you're revisiting something that you've done in the past, and also trying something new with the martial art lessons. And you're right. Well, I'm an old fart, but the older you get, you're
never old enough though. You can start at any age.
That's very true. You're never too old to start something new. And I do know though that sometimes, yeah, if you're not keeping up with things, as the older you get, your body starts to maybe like push back on you or start to not.
Right, but it's the same with music. You're never too old to start on learning an instrument or starting your own band. It's always possible. I hear a lot of people saying, for example, in gymnastics, which I'm currently doing a lot, oh, you must be like 8 years old to start, or like very, very little. But I got to learn a lot of stuff at my own age, which, well, I'm pretty young, maybe for a lot of people, 22 years old. But for gymnastics, it's quite very old to start with it. But still, I got to learn a lot of stuff. So I think it's just like a mental thing, mostly.
You know what, and I totally agree with you in that sense. I mean, even like for me doing this type of work, which is obviously not, athletics, but it started in 2011. So I just decided I wanted to do it. And it's like, well, why wait? Let's just do it now.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I've been a music fan since, ever since I was just a little kid. I saw Kiss back in 1979, and it's been downhill ever since. So all the hard rock metal bands, that's what I grew up with. And so I know you share some of that, especially with Cobra Spell, you share some of that same influence. So it's going to be awesome talking about that. But let's kind of segue from gymnastics and martial arts to Crypta. And I know you've had many chances to talk to people out there in the world about how you got involved with the band, and then how the songs got written, especially since you're in different continents. Yeah. So for those that are new to Crypta, the two of you out there, how did you get involved with the band?
All right. So Crypta was founded in 2019 by Luana and Fernanda wanting to start a new side project in the style of death metal. With this idea in mind, they were in need of a guitarist to start working on the music. For that, they had in mind to invite me, which for me was like an absolutely amazing chance. Back then I was playing in the band Burning Witches, and they were playing in Nervosa, which are different styles of music. And we knew each other. We had played together before, so we seen our faces, and we see each other perform, and I always look up a lot to them. So we went for it. We started writing together, finding a name, finding a concept of the band, to get to know each other a little bit better, but all very low-key. We didn't announce it in a whole year, because we wanted to do this in our own rhythm, without having some kind of pressure by people expecting certain things. So this really helped us to really define our sound and try to understand the way that works for us the best as writing music in distance, because it's always see how it works and see if our ideas mesh together very well. And it did. It definitely went very well. And we saw there was a lot of potential together. The friendship started getting a bit better. We did all of this, by the way, through calls on WhatsApp, 3 messages. Somehow it works for us. And we share ideas through a Google Drive that we share together. And in this way, we always communicate, hey, I made this idea. Maybe this goes well with your idea that you had there from yesterday, this kind of way. And yeah, a little bit later on, we thought it would be pretty cool if we can also get a second guitarist in the lineup, just to be able to have double soloing. So, or like when we're playing live, it sounds much better when you can harmonize the guitar parts, when you have like a rhythm, when you're playing a solo. We thought that would be like ideal, the cherry on the pie of the lineup, let's say that. And so we auditioned some girls, and we found Tainá, who's living in Brazil. She had awesome like guitar videos, and we asked her if she wanted to be part of Crypta, and she joined us, and that's pretty much how Crypta was created. A month later, we got to announce the lineup publicly. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I like the fact that at least initially the 3 of you were just going at your own rhythm, your own kind of just organically letting this happen and kind of seeing where it goes, and you obviously were getting excited about it. It seemed like it was working, it was clicking, ideas were going back and forth, and I'm just kind of curious too, like as you're sharing ideas back for some of these songs, is it kind of like maybe you have some riffs and they had some things, and you just kind of listen to each other's stuff and then kind of figure out what pieces where? So was it kind of it sounds like it would be kind of a long process to kind of eventually get there.
It took a while for sure. You gotta translate the ideas. Certainly, Fernanda is the vocalist and bass player. Luana is the drummer. So their ideas are like either very rhythmic or more in their own like experience of music as musicians in their own craft. My ideas are like directly translated in guitar riffs, while theirs are maybe in a voice message. So in this way, I was like translating all the ideas on guitar here and recorded all the demos here at my own home, and asked them, okay, is this what you had in mind for your idea? And then they say, actually a little bit different. And this is the way we did it. Like we did a lot of like ping pong, writing the music, and to the point where we actually got, okay, that's exactly what I had in mind. And in this way, yeah, you get exactly what you want. It takes a little while. Sometimes it's not exactly it, but close enough. But we really try to nail exactly what we had in mind. Yeah, and what we experience too a lot is everyone has a very different style of writing, meaning in the style like the sound of what comes out of an idea. For example, Luana is very rhythmic. So is Fernanda. She has like very like brutal sounding ideas. As mine are more melodic sounding, sometimes a little bit black metal sounding. And this created, we initially wanted to like sound death metal, like straight up old school death metal. But later on, like working together, we realized actually this is becoming some kind of hybrid kind of death metal. But we are happy with it because this is how we sound. This, you can't change it. It's just what comes out of us. So we're like, okay, it's what happens.
Yeah, no, and like you said, I mean, if it's organically coming from the band members, this is the direction you go in. So if it's a death metal and there's some sprinkling of black metal in there for sure through the tracks, and perhaps that's your influence. And I had the pleasure of interviewing Luana back in early May about her drum parts and everything else that she was doing, and that she drums in her apartment. And,
yeah, exactly. I mean, we did everything from distance, and it worked out. You know, we prepared the pre-production from our homes because, you know, obviously we are far away from each other. But, you know, it took a long time. I had to record the songs like maybe 3 times just to get the right demos for the actual recordings. But it's worth it because you get the time to really reproduce the songs and see if there's something missing, if there's still something we want to change. And from home is a very safe place to do it in your own, you know, when you feel comfortable. While if you are in the studio and have to change it there, then you just have like very limited time to do it straight away. So doing it from our own homes really gives us this comfort of having the time to do it in our own way.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. That especially on the pre-production side of things, that you could take your time, get to where you're really happy with it, so that when you do go in the studio, you're ready just to bang that thing out and not having that pressure of like, half this song isn't really working, so now we got to figure this out in the next hour.
Yeah, it's better than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, getting ideas. When I was in the studio, I still got like, oh, God damn it, I wish I had added the lead there or something like that. But, you know, that's normal. You always can get new ideas.
Yeah, I think it's kind of something that happens to every artist with everything that they do. There's always like, oh, I should do something there. Or I could have done that, or I could have went there.
Always be better. It's going to always be better.
Yeah, and I want to welcome Dianthus, which Sonia is a really great progressive rock metal band out of LA. It's 2 twin sisters, Jessica and Jackie. So welcome to them. And I believe it would probably be Jackie asking this question, is asking, what gauge picks and strings do you use?
All right. So as for picks, I'm using 1 millimeter picks. I think I have one. I should have one here. Maybe. I always have one in reach, but apparently, there's like in my room some kind of pick disappearing black hole or universe going on that every time I drop one, it just disappears. So I'm using 1 millimeter ones from Intune GP. They're actually from the United States. And, you know, they're a little bit bigger size. They're not the jazz picks. Aside of that, for strings, I'm using D'Addario 1158 or 56. I think it's 58. 1158 by D'Addario. And it's, yeah, they're very nice and thick. I like my strings to be with a high tension. Since we are playing in C# in Crypta, we need some thicker strings. Yeah, and aside of that, D'Addario has good quality strings, and I have a very good experience with them. So yeah, that's my strings.
Okay, yeah, thanks for the question, Dianthus, and thank you for sharing that. And yeah, when you mentioned your gauge strings, I was like, because I'm a guitar player myself, so I'm kind of like, whoa, that's pretty thick. But then, yeah, for the type of music you're playing and the tuning you're in, that makes perfect sense.
I found one. Here it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a thicker one. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. And it's got your autograph on one side, and then the eye on the other side.
Yeah.
So that's cool. That's cool. And Carlos, welcome to you as well. I see you're on Twitch and on YouTube. So good to see you as always. And so when you're working on these songs back and forth, you're doing the pre-production, kind of getting anything to the point where you want it. When did all of you eventually go into the studio to record this album? What's the timeline?
We entered the studio in January this year. We recorded the album Echoes of the Soul in a studio in Brazil, Sao Paulo, named Family Mob. We had our producer Vaca, which is a very good guitarist who plays in many old school death metal bands. And yeah, we did it there. It's a very nice, modern, very spacious studio with a nice range of different gear. Yeah, we spent a whole month there. We started with the drums, then we did the rhythm guitars. Then was, let me think, the bass, the vocals, and the last part was the lead guitars. That's how we did it. And we spent some time doing rehearsals there too. We had our own engineer, and mixing and mastering. Mixing was done by Arthur Risk, a very talented American producer guy. And we had Jens Bogren from Sweden to do the mastering of the album. As for, if I go a little bit deeper in the rhythm guitars lasted like 5 days of recording. Everything was recorded actually with this guitar right here.
Okay.
Jackson. And yeah, we used a PV6505 Plus with a Marshall cabinet, a Marshall Vintage. And this is actually the sound of all the rhythm guitars in the album.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Now, did you lay down all of the rhythm guitars?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. Since the songs were actually mainly already written after Taina, before Taina joined in the band. Mm-hmm. I already knew kind of all the harmonizations of all the rhythms and everything. It would be easier to do it. Like we were a little bit limited with the time that we had to record. So we thought the best idea is that one person does this. Aside of that, we have like slightly different styles of picking. So we thought, okay, one person does it. So yeah, everything is recorded with my guitar, and yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no.
Also, lead guitars, though, we did 50-50, meaning that Taina has her own solos and I have my own solos. So she definitely did her own solos on the songs.
Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense, but particularly when you're in the studio, because there's a lot of bands that have done that. Like, well, who's the tightest rhythm player? Sometimes they'll just actually go in there and lay down the rhythm tracks. It just makes more sense, and especially if you have a time constraint or a budget constraint, any of those kind of things.
Yeah, for us, it really makes sense to do it that way, so we went for it. But Taina is amazing. She learned every single thing like so fast, so it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm even thinking like even for like drummers, I know sometimes they don't ever want to like record 2 double bass drums in the studio. Typically, they'll use just a double pedal for a single one so they can isolate the sound better and all those kind of things. But obviously, when you're live, it's a totally different animal.
But it was a quite an experience. I'm used to be in heavy metal bands as a guitarist. I've only been in Burning Witches as a guitarist before. I always used to be a bass player in death metal bands. So the experience to record this album was very, very unique to me. Certainly because the riffs in this music is a lot more rhythm oriented. So there is a lot of like picking going on. I had to really work on my chops to get in the studio and record the rhythms. So I've been spending a lot of time with metronome at home, practicing the shit out of my guitar. Sorry if I say it in that way. But just so I can be sure that at the studio will everything go well. And I'm very happy how they sound, the songs, and I can feel very proud of hearing, and wow, did I really play this? It's awesome. Yeah, it's a very fulfilling feeling.
Well, that's great. You put in the work. You did your homework. You put in the time. You know, they always call it as guitar players, you know, woodshedding. You go to the woodshed, you sit there and just practice and just get those downstrokes or whatever you need to do to get it tight, especially in a recording situation, because it's going to show every little flaw when you're in there.
Yeah, and certainly, you know, I'm a very melodically, how to say it, melodically oriented guitarist. So I tend to write more melodies and solos just when I'm having ideas. You know, the melodies come out very easily. So I tend to just play the melody. And the songs, I had to translate my melodies into certain riffs. You can hear that in many songs, such as From the Ashes, the chorus is extremely melodic. Or Shadow Within has a lot of melody going on, or Kali. You know, there's a lot of melodic parts where I had to translate these melodic ideas into something that sounds more like extreme. So, you know, the style, I had to adapt my style in a certain way and try to, it's not like pushing myself to try something, but it was like trying to write in a different way. So it's made me learn how to translate my ideas in a different way other than what I'm used to, my comfort zone.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, because, and a perfect example, like what you were saying, was From the Ashes, that when it gets to that chorus, what I really like is that melody comes in and it really breaks up things, so it's not all one note, because sometimes, like with death metal stuff, it becomes just
Nothing wrong with that. I love that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's a time and place for that for sure. But with yours, I like that there's some variance, there's some other influence kind of getting in there, and there's definitely musicianship that's showing up all over those tracks. And I mean, that's why the response has been so huge for you guys. I mean, people can't wait for you to get out on stage and do this stuff, which I know is going to be coming in 2022. We'll get to that in a second. But all the work that you put in. So as you were recording this early this year, did you hope that you were going to be able to maybe tour sometime in 2021, or did you already know that that was not on the table and we're looking at the next year?
Well, we were like knowing that it's going to be very hard. You know, the situation right now, at least in Brazil, it's like very, very bad. It's going to take a while that people are going to get vaccinated over there. So we kind of knew that it was not going to be the case that we can directly tour after the release of the album, even though we don't let coronavirus be in our ways to release our own album. We want to, you know, music is some kind of art, and I think we need art to make people, you know, say it. How can I explain this? You know, you cannot hold something when you just want to express it, and it's difficult. So we thought it was the right timing for us, and we think that, you know, people can still listen to the music from their own homes, and we hope that it can also make people happy at the same time in this difficult time. You know, we need just new music can lift people up, and to us it has this effect that we finally can release music anyway.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I've had the pleasure of interviewing several musical guests in the last 15 months, and some of them did exactly what Crypta did, whereas they were like, you know, this is a good time to put this out there. People need something to feel good. They need something that's new, that they can sit there and jam it out on their stereos and their earbuds, whatever. And it's also
we always toured, definitely. After the pandemic resolves, we'll definitely get out there and we'll do the tour along to the album. You know, the album will still be like fresh and new, so we think, at least. And we're definitely planning like in forward. Maybe the end of this year, if everything goes right, and definitely next year. You know, we have already the tour with D-Side and Christian in Europe, but we're working on also different regions of the world. So maybe United States, but also South America, Middle America, and much more. So we're still working on it, but we're definitely aiming to tour very soon when everything gets better.
Yeah, no, you know, and good things come to people that wait, and we know this, and it's also nice that you're with Napalm, because they have a lot of their artists are here, well, they're also touring the United States. I mean, they're going to get their bands over here. So when the time's right and everyone's safe and ready to go, then you'll be on the road probably for a long time, is my guess, because there's going to be a lot of demand for Crypta.
Yeah, I would love to come to the United States. I've never personally toured the United States as a musician. I've been there before, but never as a touring. So it's gonna be a dream becoming reality if I can make it through with Crypta.
Yeah, I mean, again, the fans over here are ready for you. And like you mentioned, in Europe, you've got the D-Side and Christian tour coming up. So if there's something similar to that, that would be awesome. And Carlos, I see he's saying that he discovered you in 2016. Some people sharing your YouTube videos, so that's awesome. And
Wow, that's awesome. Thanks for the support.
Yeah, and Sonia, I'm also curious about your guitar playing. Are you self-taught? Did you take lessons at any point? A little bit of both?
Well, I started as a self-taught guitarist. Well, actually, before being a guitarist, I was a bass player mainly. I was playing in bands as a bass player. My main instrument used to be the bass. I started when I was 14 years old, which is quite some time ago already. I took lessons as a bass player in a local music school here in the Netherlands. But I just played like, you know, the jazz and not actually metal as a bass player. I was more like on my own, playing also some metal by myself, and I joined some local metal bands here. And a year later, I decided actually I would love to play the guitar too. Even though, you know, my father was like, yeah, you just gotta choose one instrument. You gotta take one instrument seriously, and maybe you can do the other one just for fun. So I thought, okay, the guitar is gonna be just for fun. The bass is gonna be my serious instrument. Even though I started really getting into the guitar, I taught myself to play the guitar here at home. Even though maybe being a bass player gave me a little bit more of an ease to understand how the instrument works. Even though I always had like struggled a lot holding the pick. You know, as a bass player, you're playing like this. So holding the pick, I had to relearn like 3 different times. But later on, I started making videos as a guitarist and see, actually, this is progressing a little bit. I feel like this is really my instruments too. Still, I was being mainly bass player though. And then I got the chance to be part of Burning Witches, which was actually my main step that got me into actually switching from bass and becoming mainly a guitarist. It kind of pushed me to make this choice. It wasn't like a choice that I made, okay, now bass is not my thing, I'm going to guitar. It wasn't really like that. It was just a very natural transition. Still, I was like mainly self-taught, so my techniques weren't like at all that well. I was more like, I could see myself a little bit as a bedroom guitar player because I was just practicing for fun. And I started really taking it seriously and looking at my techniques. And like 1 year ago, I after I left Burning Witches, I really wanted like to correct my own chops, really work on getting better. So I started to I get like 6 guitar lessons by the guitarist, a very good guitarist here in the Netherlands, from the guitarist from Arian. And he teach me a lot of like techniques that I really appreciate. So I think that those will be like from here and there. I've got a couple of guitar lessons, but more later on, like more recently. But mainly I've been learning everything myself.
Okay, no, thank you for sharing all of that. And it's interesting too, because we're in a time now, especially with the internet, that you can learn a lot on your own versus like when I was learning guitar way back, and again, I'm dating myself, back in the 80s. You went to a person, or maybe there's somebody like your neighbor played or your friend played or something, but you couldn't go to the internet or go on your phone and look up stuff.
But it can be very confusing too, though. You know, I used to look for techniques such as sweeping, or how do you do alternate picking, or how you do sweeping, and then you would get like a million videos of different guitarists having their own little technique, and then you sometimes think, but they're doing it differently. What is the right way? So I would just do it like at the end, like something in between. And then I'd realize that later on I took a lesson and said, I was doing it completely wrong. So it was like, sometimes it's better to search for, if you really don't know, to search for someone who just knows it and directly get the answer to the question. And that's something that I've been like experiencing the last 2 years. Like, okay, searching for help is good. It's fine. There is no, you get the answer straight away, even though, you know, doing your own research also at home, you get to also learn what can go wrong and this kind of things. Both ways have their own pros and cons.
That is a very good point. There's so much content out there because of YouTube and other, you know, resources that anyone could put something up and say, this is how you play this. And you
and maybe you could really wrong. It's the same with the tabs. I've always been more of a ear learner, so I prefer to just hear the song and learn it by myself. So always when I had to learn a set list, they didn't have tabs, so I just had to learn it by ear. It was for me the easiest way to do it. So sometimes when I'm learning a song that I like from an artist that I look up to, and then I casually want to search how it's done in tablatures, and I would always get so extremely annoyed because they're completely wrong, and you can even like compare them with the live musicians. It's like not the right thing, and sometimes people like to do it from the tabs because it's easy. You get to literally see what's being done, but it's not always right. So I still always prefer to do everything by ear.
See, I'm flashbacking to when I was looking at tabs, and I had the same issues. Like, I sit there and start doing the fingering. I'm like, I don't think this is right. And then I start looking through it again and I listen to the music, like, that. No, that's not right.
Yeah, sometimes there's one note like all the way to the beginning, and then a note on the 12, and you're like, what kind of stretch is this? This is not natural.
Yeah, totally. And it reminds me a little bit of like Wikipedia, that anyone can make an account. They can write a bunch of stuff about, whoever they want on there. And there's no way to really, say if it's right or wrong. It's just out there. And so it's like,
yeah, exactly.
There needs to be a little bit of some quality control.
Yeah. That's going to be hard though.
Yeah, for sure. And I see Carlos asked a question about in your home country there in the Netherlands, what are your favorite foods, drinks, and desserts, if any?
All right. As for food, we have a very typical Dutch soup, which people, when from outside the Netherlands, when they see this soup, they always think, "Oh, that looks disgusting." It's called it's called erwtensoep. And it's made of vegetables, vegetable soup. It's pureed,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's delicious. It just looks very green and slimy, like someone puked in it, but it's delicious. It's very delicious. It's my favorite dinner food.
Okay.
As for drink, I'm extremely boring when it comes to drink. I really like water. As for dessert, I like certain cookies named stroopwafels. And they are like caramel waffles, but very, very tiny, not like the big Belgian ones, but Dutch waffles. They're pressed caramel. It's delicious. It's very sweet, and I love it.
Okay, no, that sounds awesome. I learned something. Well, I've actually learned quite a few new things today, so that's always a good day when you learn something new. And Carlos, thank you for that question. And so, Sonia, as you were mentioned, you took some lessons on bass, and then you're kind of naturally migrated to guitar because of Burning Witches, and then you wanted to get better technique with your guitar playing. Have you been teaching lessons online to any students, or have you been thinking about that, in the future?
I've been actually teaching this last 1.5 years. I realized that, I was at the level that I think that I can teach other people to play the guitar. And so I started doing some private lessons here and there through Skype. So from distance, and I see it's working very well. And students, like, I keep getting a little bit more. I'm still giving like a lot of lessons now every week. So it's very fulfilling to see people wanting to learn the guitar and wanting to learn my song sometimes. Like some people come and want to learn a certain song or a certain solo, and to teach them and see them being able to actually play it is very awesome. It's also very very nice process to learn, to see how people where they get into certain mistakes and how you can like help them out. You can learn a lot. I can learn a lot myself from that.
Yeah, that I totally relate to that. For a real short period of time, I was teaching guitar lessons myself, and it forces you as the teacher to really break down your own playing, your own techniques, the things that you're doing, and sometimes you're not even thinking about it, but then a student will ask you about, so how did you ever have problems with your left hand on the fretboard when you're doing these kind of things? And I had to sit there and think about it. Well, no, I did this. And then you want to make sure you don't teach them bad habits. So I remember back to some of the guitar teachers I used to have that taught me some things that weren't very good. So I try to remember not to pass that on to my students. But yeah, it's been very much something where it goes back and forth between both. I
will never say that I'm at the level that I am, because there's definitely a lot that I can still work on. My skills are far from what I wish I would be, even though there's a lot of things that I know, okay, there I'm decent to teach a certain amount of technique, certain techniques that I'm able to do in a certain amount of speed. certain theory that I fully understand that I can pass on. So I'll definitely stay in the safe zone of things that I can teach that I'm 100% sure that a student will be able to use on its own playing, knowing that he's learning the right thing. And sometimes, of course, there is like a certain subject that students ask me about, hey, how does that work? And maybe I'm like, okay, I know a limited amount of this, and this pushes me to actually know a little bit more about it. And then on my own time, I'm always in my own time trying to get better at what I'm doing, and having questions always pushes me to understand more about what I'm teaching. And I'll always do my research for sure.
Yeah, very true. It's really smart of you to know what your strengths are, what your limits are in terms of your students. I remember I had one that he came in and he wanted to learn classical guitar. And I was like, oh, I need to pass you on to someone who can actually do this properly.
Right. And this is something, for example, that I could not teach. I mainly say I'm more of like a guitarist that can teach you how to play solos, how to make your own solos, how to play rhythm, how to play metal songs. But I would not be able to teach classical guitar, like with the plucking with the hands. I have no experience with that. I'm limited to that, so I'm not able to teach that. But most of the students that I'm getting, most of them want to learn how to play heavy metal, how to play death metal, how to create their own solo. Actually, the most are coming for, I want to play solo, how to do that. And I can teach them a lot of things, such as the modes, how to play alternate picking, how to sweep, tapping. There is a whole list of things that I could teach for sure.
Yeah, that's great. And it's and I've mentioned this with other guest interviews, that it's so important for students to find the right teacher, because if you find the right.
Oh, sorry, your camera is gone, so I can't see what you're saying.
Okay, I think I'm back.
You're back now.
Yeah, gosh, that's so annoying. But anyway, it's so important to find the right guitar teacher, because if you find one that's going to teach you what you want to learn and also has that skill set, it's great. But then
right.
sometimes,
and that's what it's for. That's completely what it's for. It's the same thing that I'm doing lately. If there's something that I don't know how to do, such as, okay, I don't understand this subject, how does it work? How to improvise with Dorian, for example, whatever. Then, okay, who is very good at improvising with Dorian? Okay, this guy is, even if he's far away in some other country, I will mail him and tell me, hey, how do you do this? And then, you can expect 80% chance maybe that he's going to answer, maybe not, but at least you tried. And otherwise you search for someone else. And if you get an answer, great, maybe he can help you out. So I think that's the best way to actually learn, is try to find the best person that you can find in a certain technique, or maybe the one that you look up to for a certain skills, and then ask that person to teach you that.
Yeah, that's a really great a piece of advice. And I think, again, when I think back to my own guitar teachers I had, one of them was so narrow-minded with what he wanted to basically put his style and his influences onto all of his students. And so it didn't matter if you came in there and said, I want to learn a Kiss song or something, he's going to put you towards the Beatles, and there's nothing wrong with the Beatles. But
that's so frustrating. That's extremely frustrating.
It is. And then luckily, my second guitar teacher was completely the opposite. He was really open-minded. As soon as you brought something in, he was all about it, couldn't wait to break it down and show you how to do it. And then that means you probably want to keep coming back to that guitar teacher, because you have a nice relationship.
But yeah, of course. I definitely understand how unmotivating it can be. And there has to be, though, a nice balance between like boring theory. You could say it boring, because a lot of people always tend to like, I want to play this song, I don't want to do this technique, when especially young people that just want to start playing directly a certain song, like, oh, I want to play a Megadeth song, but they're not able to like play certain things. Well, definitely you can spend a certain amount of the lesson paying attention to the basic things of guitar playing, maybe a certain easy riff, maybe some AC/DC, and then the other half, maybe you try one riff out of the song that they want to learn, just to make it a little bit exciting. So there has to be a certain balance. Sometimes it's not always playing the thing that you want to like. It depends on the level, But in my lessons, I always try to keep a balance between what the student wants to learn and what is good for his own level of playing.
Yeah, again, a really good piece of advice. It's clear that you've been doing this for a while, because you always want, as a teacher, you want to be striving for balance, because you want to keep them interested, but at the same time, they need a foundation to build off of too, that they can take anywhere with the instrument.
And of course, you need certain techniques to get somewhere, for sure.
Yeah. And hi, God of Lies. I know you joined us a little bit ago, and I know that you're asking about how much are the lessons and what are the equipment requirements?
For information about my lessons, you can always email me at info@soniaanubis.com, and I will tell you everything. Yeah, I prefer to do it that way so I can explain like through the email and stuff.
Sure. Yeah, and that's a business transaction too, so you want to be talking about it that way in private, basically. But there you go, God of Lies. So you can shoot off an email.
I give lessons worldwide, so it doesn't matter where you are. You just need a good Wi-Fi connection, and you need your own guitar. That's pretty much the most important things. Yeah.
And Sonia, I have kind of a random mind. I'm just kind of curious. Do you prefer students to start with like an acoustic guitar, or does it not matter? Can they have an acoustic or an electric?
Well, I do prefer to give guitar lessons with an electric guitar, since my own, I have an acoustic there, but it doesn't really work very well. It's always untuned. So I'm giving my lessons always with the electric. It's not a problem if the student has an acoustic guitar, because it just works the same way. It's just a little bit harder because the strings are a little bit further away. The pressing is just a whole different feeling. But I've done it before, so I know it can work out.
Okay, so everybody out there, whatever kind of guitar you have, as long as it has 6 strings on it and you've got a Wi-Fi connection, you should be able to work something out. That's great. And I want to make sure that I don't run out of time here. Let's spend a little bit of time talking about Cobra Spell. I'm really curious about, for people who aren't familiar with Cobra Spell, there's definitely the huge 80s metal influence in that band. Being so young, how did you get involved with those types of bands? I'm just curious.
Well, they're just a very great style of music that keeps inspiring me every single day. So it's kind of like also a natural choice why I started Cobra Spell. Actually, the reason why I got into music, why I started playing music, was because I got really, really into an American heavy rock band, Kiss. It's always been like a huge influence to me, watching these videos of them playing in the 70s. All this awesome stage presence, and the way that Gene Simmons would stand on stage and do certain like slides. It would inspire me so much that I wanted to become a musician, and being able to be that cool, hopefully trying to be that cool. And so it's kind of my roots pretty much on how I got into music. After Kiss, I discovered there was more than them. It was Alice Cooper, you name it. It was Wasp, and then every time a little bit further. So these were the bands that every time I listen to them, it gives me a very youthful feeling, and I'm pretty young, but it gives me even more like of a nostalgic feeling, even if I've never lived those years. Aside of that, there's something very special about the 80s. Myself, I have weird obsessions, and the same goes to the aesthetic of the 80s, not only the bands, but the interiors, the architecture, the fashion, the movies. There's so much interesting things about this time. So I thought it would be very cool, together with guitarist Sebastian Silva, who also plays in Cobra Spell, to start a band that pays homage to these bands from the 80s, such as Dokken, Whitesnake, all this arena rock oriented bands, and bring back those this style, since these years there's not much of this style bands. The ones that are like, they're very little of these. So that would be very cool to start something like that, and this is what Cobra Spell is. We were like not sure if we would like really do it. Sorry, I talk so much sometimes I'm losing like what I was talking about. But I once visited the concert from Alice Cooper together with Sebastian. He's my boyfriend. So we were not completely sure if it would be a good idea to start a band together, because a lot of people say, hey, business and relationships don't go well together. You shouldn't do it. Not a good idea. But this time I got to meet Alice Cooper and ask him this question, because he works a lot with his own wife. And we kind of look up to that. And the same goes for Nita Strauss, who is the guitarist from Alice Cooper, who also has his boyfriend as manager, and they have their own solo project working together. So I wondered, okay, let's ask him. He must know how it is. And I asked him, hey, we are boyfriend, girlfriend. Do you think it's a good idea? and he said, "Yeah, you guys should definitely work together in music." And I was like, "Okay, Cobra Spell." And yeah, this is kind of like when we started taking it seriously, and then we made this EP just to see, okay, what is gonna come out of this. And this EP has been released past year in September. It's called Love Venom. And yeah, that's now we are now taking it more seriously. We're making our own album, and the album is maybe gonna be released end this year, maybe next. We'll see what happens. But we are working very hard on it.
Okay, no, that's you're speaking my language when you're talking about Kiss and you're talking about the bands from the 80s. Do you ever feel like you were born in the wrong decade?
Oh, definitely. For sure. Yes. It sounds a little bit crazy, but sometimes when I was like 15 years old or something, very young, I used to sometimes like cry about it. I know it sounds crazy, but cry, oh, God damn it. Why didn't I live these years? I wish I could have seen that band live. It was like so frustrated. Definitely with Kiss, because I was extremely obsessed with the band. I'm still obsessed, but at that point it was like it's the only thing that existed for me. And well, very luckily though, I got to meet Gene Simmons 2 years ago in Sweden, and that was like a dream come true for me. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. What was he like when you met him?
Yeah, well, it was very short. It was very short, and I had to cry. I had to cry. I was very emotional. And yeah, he gave me a very short advice, but yeah, it's I will forever like he was very kind, you know, very like I would take a picture and he would be like very nice. I don't know how to say it. It was short but powerful in my opinion. Yeah.
That's amazing. I didn't get my experience with him was during the when was that, the 1995 when they're doing the Kiss conventions, the acoustic sets that they were doing around the US.
Love those.
Yeah, and when they were done with their set, that's when they were autographing stuff for the fans, and they were doing it from the stage. It wasn't like at a table or anything. And
you were there too?
Yeah, so I was there. I was there at that performance here in Seattle, and I just remember I just had my program from the show, and you know, obviously there's like, I don't know, a bunch of, I think there's 500 people there at this little unplugged gig because it was expensive. It was an expensive ticket back then.
It's an amazing experience. I can imagine that was like amazing experience.
Yeah, seeing them in such an intimate setting like that, and you felt like you had a connection. You know, they did a Q&A and all that kind of thing. And I just remember, you know, my goal in life was to get him to sign something. You know, so that's the reason I came here. And Paul was there too, obviously, but Gene was the one I was focused on. And he was like signing stuff around me, and I'm short. I'm like 5'5". I don't know what that is in meters, but and so he was signing stuff around me, and he was standing there, you know, with his normal boots and his leather pants on. And so I literally did this. I tugged at the bottom of his pant leg, and he just looked down at me, kind of like, "What the fuck?" And then I just gave him my paper, and then he laughed about it, and then he actually grabbed my thing, signed it, and said, "You got my attention."
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so awesome. You know, there's something very special about meeting your heroes. It's just like, I would never thought that I would ever be able to meet them, because, you know, I was thinking, okay, I'm born so late, you know, they'll probably like stop, you know, they're already doing their last tour. I hope it's not the last one, of course, but you know, that they always thought, okay, it's not gonna be possible. I'll never be enough far away to be able to meet them. But it was very a surprise, because we were playing, Kiss and my previous band were playing in the same festival, Sweden Rock. So also in the same day, so that he was casually walking by in the backstage, and I was having dinner with the band, and I was thinking, you know, I will die if I would get to meet Gene Simmons. I literally said that in the dinner table. We were telling, well, today's your lucky day. I said, what? He's there on the outside of the restaurant? Yes, he is there. I was like, I was like even walking with my, you know, the towel that you eat with. I don't know how to say this.
Like a napkin?
The napkin. Yeah, I was just having my napkin in my hand, just running there with a napkin. I was like, shit, it's real. Like, it's Gene Simmons. And I just started crying. It's just amazing. Yeah.
Well, it's awesome when you get a chance to meet someone like a hero or someone that you look up to, and you had a good experience, because they always have that saying about don't meet your heroes, because then it can shatter your vision of what they were like. But in this case, it was awesome. It cemented the fact that now you're really a fan for life, because you got a chance to meet him and he was cool.
Yeah, and I have another dream that I really, really hope that I'll be able to play with them. That's also a big dream, and still I think, okay, that's gonna be impossible. But since I got to meet, I think maybe there's a possibility.
You never know.
My options definitely open for that.
Yeah, you're putting it out to the universe, so we'll see if the universe answers back and you're on stage or doing something, with the band. That would be amazing.
Jamming a song with them or being able to support them, whatever, I will be extremely happy. Yeah.
So being the big, huge Kiss fan that you are, I'm just curious, how many times have you seen them live?
I've seen them 2 times live.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And do you have a particular favorite album?
Hotter Than Hell.
Oh, interesting.
I really like Hotter Than Hell and the debut album. The first album also is very good. They're both classics to me. I haven't been able to see them live often because when I was like very young, I know it's kind of weird sounding, but I was ashamed to talk about it. In my family, there was pretty much no one that was listening to like something more, Kiss is not that extreme, but to what my family was listening to, it was completely a different thing. So I would be very low-key about it. I would never talk about it. I even started asking to play the bass. I've told my family that I was playing the bass, but I never told them that I was actually because I was inspired by Kiss, but just, okay, the bass is cool. And I was just so ashamed. It's so weird. And same at school. It was such a big deal for me to actually start wearing like merchandise on school because I was scared that people would like laugh at me or something. It's so stupid. But later on, I started taking little steps of, okay, now I dare to wear a shirt of this band. And I thought, oh, actually, I feel more myself. And later on, of course, after 2 years, I was like, okay, this is me. Nobody can tell me about what to do. So that's kind of how it went. Yeah, and when I was in a certain age that I got to go alone to a concert, I definitely got the chance to watch Kiss. First in Rotterdam. The second time was a year later in Sweden. And I also have my tickets for next year when they play in Amsterdam.
Nice. That's interesting that when you, like you were saying, when you're younger, that there was some part of you that didn't feel comfortable, like saying I'm a Kiss fan. And I understand with your family, that makes perfect sense.
I know it sounds weird, but my big part of my family is like very religious, and my other side is more like, I don't know much family from the other side. So it's like, I was kind of like scared that they would say, oh, you shouldn't do that. Or I was scared for it. So I was like, I'm always a very big overthinker. And and then I realized actually it's not much of a big deal. Yeah.
Well, again, with your family, I understand that, and with school, I definitely understand that, because you're thinking, well, what if people make fun of me? What if they do this because I'm wearing this? Especially if you don't see a lot of it around other people.
Yeah. And at my school, it was like nobody. Later on, I started discovering, okay, there's like 4 kids from the other building that might like it. But it was, I'm living still in the same town still, but this town is very little, and there's like no much people that really are into the rock music. So it's like very rare. You gotta really go to the city if you want to meet people in this style. And I really had to go out my own city to actually meet up with people that were into this music. I used to go a lot to The Hague, which is a different city, like half hour away or 1 hour away from here, just to actually meet up with people of my age that listen to extreme music. So it was just difficult to get people to know that are actually into the same scene. More of, for me, discovering music was all through internet, unfortunately. So it was not like, oh, this friend showed me this band. It was just like literally on YouTube looking up bands and getting really into it.
Well, and again, like we were mentioning earlier, that's one of the beauties of the internet, that it does all the exposure. And you can be in a remote area. You could be in an area that maybe it's a small town. You could be someone that lives up in Alaska here in the United States, where you can't.
Yeah. I actually have a student in Alaska. It's crazy.
Yeah. See, so this, when the internet works right, it can be really awesome, connecting people, finding out about new artists, and then hopefully getting a chance when you can actually see them or meet those people in person. Then it's even better. And that as we kind of get close to wrapping this up,
yeah.
One thing I want to make. Okay.
My power is going off. All right. So.
No problem. One thing I wanted to ask you about, and maybe you've already answered this because I know you just did a Q&A recently, and you've done quite a few other promotional things. There's a clip of you singing like opera for fun, like in your home or something from a long time ago. Do you have a trained vocal background, or what was going on there?
When there's something that really I'm self-taught, that's also like vocals. I have no idea what I'm doing. I do it for fun. I don't know how I was able to sing that high or anything, but I always did it for fun. Even though I used to be in a church choir when I was little, when I was like 10 years old or something. I was living in Spain, and I was in a non-school, so it was like a must to be in a church choir. And that's where I learned, understand like vocals and certain, techniques of harmonizing and stuff. That's where we had to always do it by ear. So it was like, there was no specific technique or something.
Okay, and so are we going to ever hear you do like a lead vocal on some sort of track somewhere with any project, or even like a solo project?
Yeah, you might, maybe. I'm trying to work on my vocals. Sometimes it's a little bit hard. I'm still self-taught. I'm learning it by myself here. All the demos that I'm doing for Cobra Spell actually always have my vocals on it. It's the process that I work with. I'm very precise when it comes to melodies and stuff that I want to have in music. So I always pre-record my own vocals and then deliver them to the actual vocalist for him to really like sing the way I wanted it to be. But there might be my vocals in the new album. I might be, maybe. Yeah. Maybe. There definitely is going to be a single where I'm going to do my vocals there. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I can't wait to hear.
It won't be opera style.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense to be singing in an 80s metal style, is my guess.
In my own style, yeah.
Yeah, and God of Lies, thank you for the nice comment about Sonia and this interview. I really appreciate you checking things out and watching what we're doing, and same thing with you, Carlos, and yay for water. And so, as we've kind of talked about, we know that Crypta has the tour coming up in 2022. I know that Fernanda and Luana are doing like a track-by-track live thing this weekend, I saw. What else? Are there other things that are coming? Is there another music video coming up down the road? What else is going on with Crypta?
Well, we have a lot of material that is cooking right now. Not new songs, because we have the album out now, but more like promotional material, insightful material such as like guitar playthroughs, bass playthroughs, vocal playthroughs, drum playthroughs, all this stuff that goes along with the album. We definitely have a lot of stuff planned regarding that. We would love to make a new music video, but we're just still planning on what is realistic for us at the moment.
Okay, all right. And
I don't feel too much about that, but
well, I'm kind of curious too that when you get eventually to next year to tour, does that mean that are you going to be flying down to Brazil then to do rehearsal for a couple of weeks or something before you hit the road, or how's that going to work?
Well, the tour in Europe next year is going to be kicking off from the Netherlands. So it's like, from me, it starts in the Netherlands, it ends in the Netherlands. So the girls will be flying here to Amsterdam, and we're just going to rehearse from here. They can stay at my own place. And then from there, we're just going to start the tour in that way. We'll do it a certain amount of times before the tour, so we're like ready to be on the stages. And we're going to do the same with other tours. So, for example, if the tour is starts in a certain country, we all fly there and we have a couple of days, or maybe we do it before. It depends in the situation on how we're going to do it. We're definitely planning on rehearsing together before every tour that we do.
Okay, that makes sense to go to the country where it's going to start. It's kind of like when actors have to go to location before they start shooting a film. So if they all get there for earlier, kind of work through their parts and all the steam, and then start doing. Okay, that makes sense to me.
It's very important to rehearse, definitely.
Yeah, very much so, and I'm sure that all of you in the band can't wait to get on the stage and just crush it.
Yeah. It was a magical feeling to being able to actually like join together in January, be together, get to know each other face to face, and having real rehearsals, playing the songs together was a very magical feeling, and I'm really, really excited to feel that again.
Well, again, I know all the fans can't wait for anything related to Crypta, especially when, you're out there killing it on the stage, and that'll happen sooner than we think. It'll get here pretty quick, I think, as things are slowly starting to open up. The time will go faster, and we'll get there. So, Sonia, thank you so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate you giving me the extra time too. And everybody in the chat, thank you for joining in and watching. And if you're watching this down the road, thank you for tuning in. And I wish you every success with Crypta, with Cobra Spell, and your lessons and everything that you do, Sonia. And I can't wait to maybe have a chance to maybe even talk to you like later this summer and kind of reconnect and see where we are with new developments and everything else.
For sure. Hopefully when Cobra Spell album comes out, then we can maybe do something.
That would be perfect. Until then, have a great night over there in the Netherlands, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.